Does having a lot of money gain you entry to the best schools in the country? Now, that's the government's argument. Basically, if you send your kids to private school, you're getting a leg up on the public kids that are going to the state schools, and it shouldn't be that way out. And that's why they've introduced VAT on private school education. Now, if we forget private schools for a minute and actually examine what the government is saying, that basically money buys you a good education, and that's why they've basically attacked private schools and privately educated kids. If we take state schools and look at the worst state schools and the best state schools, the worst state schools are most probably in the worst areas, and the best state schools are probably in the most affluent areas. And if we think we are a parent and we are looking to send our kid to school, or we are looking to move in a period where our kid will be going to school, we are probably looking at catchment areas of the best schools, which will have a price tag on the houses in proximity of that school, i.e. the catchment area, will have a higher price tag than the houses in areas of the worst schools. So no matter what the government does with regards to VAT on private education, state schools are still going to fall into the same trap of, if your parents have more money and can afford a house in an affluent area near a good state school, you are going to get the best education, and the poorest kids in the council houses who are in the proximity of the worst performing schools with the worst educational environment are going to be subjected to the worst schools. Now, the VAT that's produced or generated from private education is supposed to be going into state education, but there is still a divide within the state education. How does the government do anything about that? And also, if parents are looking at the houses in the areas around the best schools, they are going to pay more. Not only that the price tag is more, but they are going to be willing to pay more and bid more, which keeps the price even higher on the houses, because there's demand for them houses, because they don't come up very often. They're probably quite nice houses on quite nice estates. I remember having an argument with a guy online, and he was basically saying, state schools are just as good as private schools, and this, that, and the other. And he lived in something like Cheltenham or Suffolk or some sleepy village down south that probably had mint schools and probably had a very low population in quite an affluent area, where the local average house price was something like £800,000, and he was trying to tell me that state schools were as good as private education. He wants to come up to the north, where the average house price is about 80,000, 100,000, and look at state schools around the Middlesbrough area and see if he has the same idea of what state schools are. And that's the thing. And if you think there's a very big divide between the north and the south, and where the government pumps the money and doesn't pump the money, it's a good chance the north's going to get a bit of the hard end of the crappy end of the stick, let's say.